Hello and welcome to Everyday Board Game Reviews. I'm your host Daniel.
And Daniel.
And today we are going to be reviewing Castle Panic, designed by Justin DeWitt and published by Fireside Games.
And this one specifically is the second edition.
That's right. So there's a lot of different editions. We'll get more into it. Now, our podcast and our review channel, we do a very specific thing. We take our bias out of how we review. And you'll notice that as we're going through it. We have 5 criteria called our G.A.M.E.R criteria. We'll clarify what those are. But take a listen on how we're going to review Castle Panic. And before you do that, we'll each give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. That'll be based on each of those criteria. We call those giving it a Daniel. Mm-hmm. And since Daniel and I can each give it up to 5 points, it's a 0 to 10 scale on how many Daniels it gets.
I'm looking forward to it. Castle Panic is a co-op game, again, designed by Justin DeWitt and Fireside Games, where it's a tower defense game. So if you're familiar with, I think it's like Cake Princess or something like that, the video game aspect.
Plants vs. Zombies,
where you're trying to defend your tower from different stuff that's going to happen to you that's coming out, or like a boulder being pulled out of the bag, or different sets of warriors, and you're playing cards basically to attack those characters, and they're in different lines. So you're playing an archer to hit the furthest reaches. You're playing a knight to hit the closest reaches. You're also trying to play brick and mortar to repair your walls. So I love everything about what this game does when it comes to a co-op, because you never really saw something like this come out. There is variations of this. If you can find them out in the wild, there's a Star Trek Panic. There's a Dead Panic.
Munchkin Panic.
Panic. So there are variations of this game out there in the wild. But yeah, so Castle Panic is what we are reviewing today. Again, second edition. That is what I have right here.
Cool. All right. So, shall we get into our G.A.M.E.R criteria?
Let's get into it.
As always, we'll flip our coin of doom. That'll decide who talks about it first. We'll start with game immersion, and that'll be you.
Game immersion we're talking about is the game Fun to Lose. This one really is. Player interaction. When we're talking about that, we're talking about table talk and role-playing, working together, especially in a co-op game, in the games that lead to those memorable moments that make you stand up and shout at game stores. So for me, this is an easy Daniel. The game is fantastically fun to lose. I've lost this game a lot of times. And I have to say, going into this one, the versions, different ones, I keep going back to this main version just because how much I really do enjoy it. The player interaction, I love the table talk in this one. It's like, oh, I got this over here. Does anybody have the mortar for I can play the brick or we can get these things going here for we can get these walls built because we're about to lose this wall over here, or we've lost this wall. We don't want to lose this tower because we're getting a little low on towers. Or my personal favorite when it comes to those memorable moments when someone pulls that boulder out and it just keeps rolling until it hits something big.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that aspect of this game. So yeah, like I said, game immersion, this game has it all. This is an easy Daniel for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is a Daniel for me as well. Because, and you said it right there, that memorable moment, the giant boulder makes it so fun. Because what that does, there's 6 different quadrants that it's in. And a lot of times the board gets seeded. You draw 2 monsters at the end of every turn, and they get seeded around. You roll a d6, and you place them in there in the forest space. A giant boulder, though, that thematically what it's doing is that the goblins are just so ready to destroy your tower, they don't care what's in the way. They're just going to chuck that boulder down, and it kills every monster in its path until it hits a wall of some kind. If there's no wall or castle piece there, it continues to the opposite side. And if there's none on that side because you've taken a lot of damage, it's going to steamroll over everything. And no matter what happens when that comes out, it's always hilarious. Because you could have like 5 or 6 monsters in a single section. You're like, all right, please roll 6, and a 3. All right, it took out a wall and no monsters, and now we're still hurting.
Yeah.
Darn it. Like, it's so memorable. It's fun to lose since it's cooperative. It's silly, and it's very a silly theme.
Yeah,
you know, like it's a very tongue in cheek, family friendly kind of theme. You know, it has trolls and orcs and all that stuff, but nothing scary. Yeah. And the interaction, I like it whenever people play. There's other tokens where you have to draw multiple monsters, right? So draw 3 or 4 more, or there's even a boss that draws even more, right?
Yeah.
And when you pull that token. It's always hilarious, like when one person pulls like 2 of them, and then they're drawing like 7 monsters, and then everyone just doesn't trust that person anymore. It's like, you're playing against us now. How dare you?
I didn't know this was a hidden betrayer game.
Right, exactly. So this is an easy one for me. Game immersion gets a point from me as well. So now we're going into art and production. And that'll be me. So art and production, we're talking about first off the art, secondly the pieces and components, and lastly the graphic design. Daniel and I are both colorblind, so that's a really important factor. This gets a Daniel from me, and the reason being is the original art was not bad. I liked the style of it that it had. All of the pieces came pre-punched, which is rare to see in a game.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be, like a $35 game. It was fairly inexpensive. The components were decent, and now the second edition, it's bright and colorful. They revamped the board. It's super easy to see, regardless of what level of colorblindness you are.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had I had some problems with the original
Yeah,
one.
same.
Especially the Munchkin version. That was a really difficult one to see. But this version specifically doesn't have that problem. And all of the cards say very clearly what zone that they're attacking in, if any. So if it's a green monster or a green archer, it'll say green archer attacks one monster in the green archer space. Like, you don't need to know where the green archer is. You can see where that is, but that's really easy to see across the board and know what it is. And since all the cards are color coded anyway, it's good. The symbology is decent. You know what that is. The second edition actually vamped that up a little bit more. And the pieces and components are definitely good. They're not the most amazing things in the world, but considering you're getting it for a fairly inexpensive price,
Yeah.
it's one that's going to keep lasting long and long.
And the bag's nice.
And the bag is nice. And if you really wanted to, I mean, we're reviewing specifically this version. There is a super mega like deluxe version that's in like a treasure chest, right? It has all the expansions and like either
Has
wooden,
minis.
has minis. You could get like really high value production on it, and so you go that route if that's what you want. But the base game will definitely suffice.
Yeah, and so I have personally, this is my copy of the base game. It is great pieces and components. It's got some great artwork. I love the fact that they hired a former Disney artist to do the artwork for this one. The graphic design is much better in this edition, so I agree with you. This is getting a Daniel from me as well.
Yep.
It hits all those criteria. Yeah, if you want those other fancier versions, that's fine. This game is perfectly fine on its own. The cardboard pieces is good, thick cardboard. The cardstock is fine. The graphic design is very legible, very readable, that family members and kids can play it. I would say 8 and above, depending on their reading level and stuff like that. But yeah, no, it's a fantastic game. This is one of the better family-friendly games that you can play. And Castle Panic put Fireside Game on the map, and they've been relatively well done when it comes to family-friendly games. So this is the one that started it. So for me, it is a Daniel for me on art and production.
Very good. Now we're moving on to meaningful choice.
All right, back to you.
The meaningful choice talks about impact on other players, the depth of strategy, tactics, and skills, and do arbitrary choices or AP impact the game itself in a negative way. So let's talk about those real quick. I don't have an answer whether it's going to get a Daniel from me yet because I want to break this down. Specifically, impact on other players. One of the key designs in this is that since you're working together, of course, you want to get the right people to have the right combinations of cards.
Yeah.
At the end of every turn, the monsters move one ring closer. It starts on the forest ring, which is the furthest out where they generate. Then it goes to the archer, then it goes to knight, swordsman, and then inside the castle ring. Only certain cards can attack anything in the castle ring, even fewer in the forest ring.
Yeah.
But knowing that they're going to be trudging along one space closer every single turn is very, very important. I might have a red knight, and there's a big monster in the red archer one. Meaning if Daniel is the next one to play, I want to get him that red knight so he can attack it. Where he might try and get me an archer so I have some use to attack.
Yeah.
That trading mechanism is one of the key details that will decide whether you get success or not. Knowing when to throw away your cards, knowing when to pass the right cards to the right people, and being able to play in that way where you're being efficient with the hand that you're dealt effectively randomly, but you had that ability to adapt. So, as far as impact on other players, that's definite for me. I mean, that's very much. However, you are still beholden to where the monsters come out, how they come out, and the cards that you have to fend them off. That's 3 levels of random that is not controllable. I don't think it gets that depth of tactics or skills. However, arbitrary choices. Can you kill things? You should kill things. Because we're going to refill our hand back anyway. So dump your cards. Do what you can. There's not too many opportunities that you're going to want to save. Or save it out. And since you can play it with your hand either up to prevent like one person quarterbacking what everybody should do, or you could just lay them flat down, which is what a lot of people do play it like.
Yeah.
then you could just play together. It's like, well, I think this would be a good strategy because they'd be able to work it out on your next turn. Okay, cool. I I think it's going to get a Daniel for me, actually, for meaningful choice, just because there's not really many arbitrary choices. It's pretty straightforward. There's not as much depth of strategy, tactics, or skills that I would prefer, but the impacting other players is huge.
So along those routes, I disagree with you. I'm not giving it a Daniel.
Okay.
Just for the fact that you're not impacting other players other than the trading aspect, which is a big component, and I agree with that. But the depth of strategy, tactics, or skills, there's not a lot of depth in there. Yeah, you can play open-handed and show everybody what's going on, but you mentioned it earlier. There's 3 different sets of random. The cards that you draw, the way the monsters come out. I can have really fantastic cards, but if there's no monsters coming out in that section those cards play in, I'm kind of screwed. If we're not drawing up the brick and mortar fast enough to help fix our walls, say they're at the bottom of the deck, it's going to take me a little while to get there. And if that's the case, sometimes I'm not going to be able to get that wall back up. And that can lead to winning or losing. So there is some arbitrary choices in there because of that aspect. Now, this game doesn't have a lot of AP, but we have those on the same level. I cannot give it a Daniel because of the arbitrary choices and the lack of depth, really, because you have cards. Oh, this hand sucks. Now I got to dump them. And basically, it doesn't do me any good that round kind of thing. So it doesn't get a Daniel for me. So I do love what it does, and I love the impacting with working with other players the way you have to, but it's just the other 2 things it doesn't work well for me.
Okay, cool. Ease of play is our next criteria.
As you throw the
I have our new coin of doom. Here we go. That'll be you.
All right, when we're talking about ease of play, simplicity and familiarity of the mechanism, the likelihood to get it to the table, and is it easy to learn, understand, and or teach? This is another one that is pretty much an easy Daniel for me because you talk about like a tower defense or a cooperative game. That is going to get to the table because it's very simple. You're just basically playing cards to attack things. Now, most people know how that works, and you're just making sure they don't hit your castle or your walls or your castle. Easily did. Likelihood to get to the table. This one is one of the games back in the day was really easy to get to the table. Not so much nowadays, but until I describe it to people. The generic fantasy theme is a lot of people are getting out of there, and so they're kind of, I still like it. But where it shines is this game is easy to teach. It is also easy to understand. It's basically simple. You have a green archer. You can play in the green archer field. You have a card that can attack in any level here. So do what you need to do. I think it's by far one of the easiest co-ops. In fact, this is one of the few gateway co-ops that I will teach if people are not familiar with co-ops. I think it's this and Forbidden Island.
Yeah, they go hand in hand, really. Yeah.
So it's these 2 games that if nobody has ever played board gaming before and doesn't understand what a co-op game is, this is the one I'm going to pull out and teach them. So for me, it's an easy Daniel and easy play.
Yeah, ease of play, same here. I'm giving it to Daniel because, again, it's very simple. Since it's cooperative, you have that ability to play with each other until you get comfortable. It's like, okay, I can make my own decisions. You know, if I'm new, if you're new at the game, I can help you, walk you through some of the steps and talk you through. And by the first round, once everybody's taken a turn, you all understand the game. Yeah. I've never had to come back and reteach part of the game other than just be like, hey, this boss does this, by the way. You haven't drawn him yet, but that's what he does. So, stuff like that. Likelihood to get stable, again, it's a little generic. I agree with that. But understand, learn, and teach, it's very, very straightforward. So, yeah, this gets a Daniel for me.
All right, moving on to our replay value and the final topic in their gamer criteria.
That's right. There we go, and that'll be me. So, by replay value, we're talking, first off, length of time and scaling well, minimum number of plays for the full experience, and expandability, whether it's existing expansions or announced expansions. First off, length of time scaling well. 2 to 6 players plays the same amount of time regardless of the player count, because it's not based on the players, it's based on what tokens come out. And you're always pulling from the same pool of tokens, therefore it's always the same length of game. That's awesome. That's great. And it works still at 2 and 6 players. I play this at both ranges. Sometimes, like, when you have to play games with like either 2 or 6, if it's that range, it's like, you technically can play at 2.
And a lot of people are going to be like, I am not playing that at 6 ever.
Right.
This one I will play at 6.
This one, I'll play any player count. It works just the same. Minimum number of plays for a full experience. It doesn't get that because it's the exact same game every time. You have to go through all the tokens, so that's not super replayable. But the expandability. There are 4 full expansions. One of them is like the Dark Titan. It's like this massive boss who has like 8 hit points. It's wild. You have other boss modes like the Wizard's Tower. Every expansion adds a little bit of harder and a little bit of like easier, right?
Yeah.
So like the Wizard's Tower gives you spell cards. As long as the Wizard's Tower stands, you can use magic. But you also have goblins that are on fire and things flying at you. So that move extra spaces and they're running or they explode and crazy stuff. So that's fun. And then you also have like the Dark Titan, which has that. You also have one where you're like building pieces, like, and you're building like warships that'll help you destroy things if you can get those building materials cards. There's also another expansion, the most recent one, that has like scenarios and replayable stuff. Then one of our favorite versions of Castle Panic is Star Trek Panic.
Yeah.
And he took that general idea. It's not a 1-to-1 comparison, but that one you had to complete 5 missions, which was awesome. Like, it's not about just wiping the board clean. You got to complete the missions in order to win, because the monsters are going to keep coming in no matter what. He took that same idea where each little module kind of changes up the play a little bit. Now, I'm getting excited to play it right now, actually, genuinely, because of those expansions. So, replay value gets a Daniel for me as well.
And I don't disagree with you. The replay value gives me a Daniel because, like you said, 2 to 6 players. This is one of the few games I can play this at any player count. I like it at 2. I like it at 6. Relatively quick for both of them because it's the same amount of tokens no matter what you're doing. The minimum number of plays, I agree with you on that one. It's the same game because you're going through all the tokens.
Yes.
But the expandability, 4 expansions that change up the game every different way. For each module, in a sense, it's like the Wizard Tower gives you this module, makes it a little harder, makes it a little easy depending on what you're doing. The Titan one, the scenario ones, it's a fantastic expandability, and it's pick and choose. You don't need the expansions; it plays fine, but you have those choices if you need them. And so for the replay value, it gets a Daniel from me. With that being said, Castle Panic just scored 9 out of 10 Daniels. Fantastic game.
Well done to Fireside Games. Justin DeWitt and Marie DeWitt, like lovely people, by the way. They are friends of us, so keep that in mind with this review. I mean, take that bias into account while we're giving our unbiased opinions through our gamer criteria. That's still something that you should consider. We should have said that at the beginning.
Yeah,
c'est la vie. You guys know now. We played Castle Panic before we ever met them, so that's it regardless. So 9 out of 10. If you like what we do, check us out on all the social media platforms, Everyday Board Games on all of it. And as always, I've been your host, Daniel.
And I've been your host, Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And remember, every day is a good day for board gaming.